Welcome back to the Wednesday Weekly Buzz. I'm Bob Bertucci, and I'm happy to be here with fellow master coaches, Bill Walton and Kathy George. Our topic for today is going to be spring season, how you prepare, things that you have to think about when you develop the spring season, and the teams that you have in the schedule. I'm going to have Bill Walton introduce our first guest. All right, Bill, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Hi, Katie. Welcome.
Hello, Mr. Walton.
I don't know if we're allowed to say this, but normally I see you at Christmas in an Irish bar on the south side of Chicago. So
That's right.
what's the name of that place?
Well, it was Keegan's.
Keegan's, that's it.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
Western
It's still-
Avenue.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it must have been something, since I was there so long ago, it must have been something different.
Well, anyway, before we start, listeners, let me tell you a little bit about Katie. As everyone knows, she's the head volleyball coach at Penn State University, and she's only the third coach in Penn State history. She also coached at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and at Penn in the Ivy League. She played at Penn State, and before college, she was a basketball and volleyball player at the birthplace of junior volleyball, Mother McCauley High School.
Me too.
Yes, and Kathy too. And of great personal note to myself, she's also a Southsider, like me and Kathy. And in 2008, I believe, you were inducted into the Chicagoland Sports Hall of Fame for your contributions of the sport of volleyball as an athlete and a coach. But in her class, into that same Hall of Fame, were pro footballers Dick Butkus and Gail Sayers, and Chicago Cubs great Andre Dawson. And for anyone who knows Chicago politics, she was also inducted with the mayor, Richard M. Daley. That gives me chills just saying that you went in with Gail Sayers and Dick Butkus. There's not probably a lot of people listening who know who those people are, but I certainly do. So without any further to do, I give you head coach Katie Schumacher-Cawley from Penn State University. Hi, Katie.
Hello, guys. It's great to see you. Nice to be on a
Katie.
call with all of you, especially two Southsiders here. So,
That's right. Feeling right back to home.
Wow,
Yeah.
we could have all met in Chicago. You could have paid us to go to the bar, and we could have done it from the bar
It would have
and
been
got
a
us,
little bit more fun, right?
yeah,
That's
and maybe some sponsorship dollars.
there you go.
Anyway, Katie, I'm going to kick it off with the first question. Spring training is always a tricky time to train your team. Lots of limits on your time, numbers of athletes, number of matches, blah, 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 blah. Add to your 2023 training, you have a match with a pro league team, Athletes Unlimited. Can you tell us what your normal spring looks like and any changes you may have made to get ready for your exhibition against Athletes Unlimited?
Yeah, you know, we're super excited and humbled to have this group coming in. You know, they're all phenomenal athletes from, you know, UA, and especially Deja McClenda and Alicia Glass are going to be joining us, former Penn Staters. So we're excited to end our spring season on this scrimmage next Friday and to welcome them in the community here, you know, into Rec Hall. Everyone loves volleyball this way, and we're real excited to have them. You know, we scrimmaged West Virginia a couple weekends ago, and so we're pretty thin in numbers right now, so we didn't play a ton of matches, but we're excited to welcome this amazing group of athletes next weekend.
Well, and going off of that, I guess, Katie, like, tell us about your roster right now, because I know you had some players that are transferring in and maybe some mid-season people. In fact, you know, I think Pedraza, she's over there with the national team. Why don't you give us a little bit of an idea of where you're at this spring and who you're adding if you don't have them for the fall?
Yeah, you know, we're pretty thin in numbers. Like I said, we have 10 players in the gym right now, and we'll be adding, you know, 9 players this summer to the team. So the team will look a little different, but you know, the 10 players here this spring, I think they've done an exceptional job in the weight room, in the classroom, and just, you know, being great teammates. I think everyone has made some great strides, and I'm looking forward to seeing them compete again. But yeah, the roster will will look different. But, you know, I'm putting a lot on this group of 10 to show people the Penn State way and welcome everyone new to the program.
Well, you know, and this is rather odd, but, you know, we really haven't had a lot of springs to train in, like because of COVID and that type of thing. So I think like what were kind of your goals of the spring and what your priorities were as you build into the fall? What were the things, your groundwork?
Yeah, you know, we've had a few transfers come in, and obviously with the younger players, this is their first spring to train. And, you know, they did a lot with our strength coach. You know, I think a lot of them have gotten stronger and quicker, and we've done a lot of individual skill work. And so, you know, I think it's just having them take a little bit of ownership in their own skills and what they need to get better on. But, you know, we've had a successful spring, and I'm happy for each of them. And, you know, particularly Taylor Trammell, you know, she came back from an injury. She missed half the season last year and had surgery on her foot. And, you know, it's been great to see her in the gym and healthy and being able to contribute, because we weren't sure how long that was going to be. And
That's tough.
I'm happy for her.
Yeah. Any surprises, anybody else? I mean, with Taylor kind of coming back and little Jillian hanging out there. So
yeah, you know, I do, you know, I think our upperclassmen did a phenomenal job of holding the fort down and getting better and pushing the younger ones to be better in the gym and everything that they're doing. And so we've seen strides in every player. I mean, we're, like I said, you know, thin in numbers, but, you know, that gives them a lot of opportunity to get good reps and to get some extra time in the gym. And yeah, I think everyone has made solid contributions to the team.
That's awesome. Well, Bob, what are you thinking?
Yeah, Katie, you know, with Athletes Unlimited coming in, you know, Pro Volleyball Federation, possibly Love Volleyball, you know, these pro leagues. Yeah, how do you? Is there any impact on your players? And what's the expectations, you know, that you might have for the futures, as you know, for your athletes going on to be pro players?
You know, I'm so happy, and you know, with Kathy joining the league and being a head coach and starting up the other league, what a wonderful opportunity for these girls to have, you know, to stay here in the U.S. and stay. And you know, I'm happy that we can invite them to our gym and have them meet the players and talk to them, and you know, eventually have Kathy on campus to talk about their league. And you know, I think it's special, and I hope that we can continue to get the support and the viewers to keep volleyball here, and to give the ones that don't have an opportunity to go overseas to be able to compete, and maybe to keep some of those ones here instead of going overseas. So I'm happy for my players. I think they're excited about all the noise about the pro volleyball leagues, and you know, I'm thrilled for them.
Do you see it being a negative at all for your program and your fan base, or is it, you think it's just a positive having as much volleyball out there and on TV as possible?
No, I think you can never have enough. I think the Big Ten has done a phenomenal job with getting Big Ten volleyball on TV, and we need to continue to do that. And no, I think it's all a positive. And I just hope the sponsors keep coming in, and we can pay Kathy what she deserves, and these players. So
yeah, it's so cool to see all this. I think, you know, talking about all the players, I just know that this is going to keep growing. And I think players that aspire, they understand there's another level, kind of train harder too. Don't you think, Katie? Like they're like, yes, I have something I can continue on, and people are looking to see if I can play in this league. So,
right. And I mean, for our players to see these girls next weekend, you know, and to be able to have conversations about them and their experiences, I think it's, no, I'm on board with it, and I'm excited for them.
That is awesome. Well, Katie, I know you had your it might have been a month by now, maybe even more, but you guys had the Big Ten meetings, and there's a lot of changes this season. And, you know, we went to dates from, remember how we had to sandwich everything into those 28 days or whatever. And now we have the 30 days of competition. Let me know how that has changed things, and your start date for practice, you know, just what changes came there. And then I think the Big Ten really sponsored some of these things. I know it was something we were talking about a lot in the meetings. So it's good to see some of those changes. and then project down with USC and UCLA. So I'm asking you 3 questions on one. So
Well, I wish I could tell you we had our Big Ten schedule, but we don't. So that's no good. We should be getting it in May. So I think that will be the exciting piece. But I think the Big Ten has done a great job with the media exposure, like I said. But we don't have our schedule yet.
Isn't that late? Isn't May late, Katie?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
you're not. It used to be a lot earlier, but we stayed on a rotation. Remember, Katie,
Right.
They gave it to us 5 years in advance, but now they've changed it and they do it based on all this media and all this other stuff.
Right. So they're telling us May. We're actually supposed to have a call this week. So we're looking forward to that. But, we want to be at home as much as we can. And but our preseason schedule will be great. We're hosting 2 tournaments here. And then we'll be playing Florida and Georgia Tech down in Florida. One of the matches will be at USF and one of the matches will be at the Final Four site. So we're real excited about that. We'll play at Louisville. So I think we'll have a competitive preseason to get these girls ready for the Big Ten season. But, I'm excited about USC and UCLA joining the conference. I think it's going to be different for everyone, but not just for volleyball, for all sports included. So I think it's gonna, it'll be interesting to see how we all match up. But nothing like the Big Ten being competitive, as you guys know.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion on what you'd like to see conference wide once you add those 2 extra teams in terms of number of matches and that kind of thing?
The conversations are going round and round on that. Do we do divisions? Are we gonna have a conference tournament? They're still trying to figure that out. And I know some people would like to see a tournament. Some people don't want a tournament. I'd like to see a tournament in Chicago. So I think that would be fun. That's selfish though.
Well, your men's basketball plays a conference tournament, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. And so we'll see how they end up, deciding to do that. But I know there's a lot of talk on schedule, and so we'll see what they come up with.
Well, the good thing about a conference tournament is those dates don't count in your 30 dates.
Right.
So you can actually get more dates that way. And I don't see how a conference tournament would hurt the RPIs of anybody in the Big Ten playing one more match against.
Right.
I mean, you look at what basketball does with the ACC and the Big East and the Big Ten. All the men in basketball are playing those extra dates for finances as well as prestige, and it leads them right into the NCAA tournament. So it's a great lead and gets people paying attention right before they start. So it'd be it would be a different reason that you guys would be hosting it. You guys would be hosting it for TV coverage, attendance, fans, and leading into the NCAA. I mean, you guys pretty much have a good idea who's going to make it into the NCAAs even before. I mean, what? How many teams last year made the NCAAs from the Big Ten? 7?
Yeah,
8?
7. Yeah. 7.
And usually between 7 and 9, right? So it's been, yeah.
Yeah, so a conference tournament won't hurt you guys.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how many more teams they add in.
Yeah, I mean, you might have to go to divisions, and then maybe that opens up tournament, to do the crossovers. I don't know. Right. It's not my problem anymore. It's yours, Kate.
Yeah.
Katie, here's a what if. You're a junior in college. The pro team's coming. Do you lift harder, work harder? Do you want to look really good this fall because the draft is in November?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
Motivating.
I mean, that's what's so exciting for these girls, that they see that opportunity. They know that this can happen and that it's in front of them. And so I think it's, now it's more of a reality for a lot of them to stay here and play. So it's, there's definitely more incentive to get better and to do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Katie, talking about the spring, especially for the coaches that might be listening, can you give us some insights on what you think about when you're starting to develop your spring season, and maybe, are you going to do anything different, playing Athletes Unlimited, in a couple of weeks here than you would normally do in your spring?
No, I mean, I'm hoping Deja and Alicia will play with us for one set. You know, I'd love to, I'd love to get them with our girls and, you know, let them rough up the Penn State girls a little, but, no, they're great. You know, I think that they're great role models and that they could, you know, have some great input with our players. But, you know, I expect our players to compete and to play hard and, you know, to do some of the things that we've been working on and to control what they can do. So no, I know
Will you be mixing your team with them a little bit? Because I know they did that at Ohio State.
Yeah, I think we're going to do one set and just have Alicia and Deja come over. I think just having the two Penn Staters would be fun.
Red Rover.
That's right. So, yeah, so we're looking forward to it. And I know my players are as well. And, you know, we'll see them Thursday. We'll have a little practice on Thursday together. And so it'll be fun to mix up with them and, you know, do a few drills. And yeah, look forward to the community being able to come. You know, we have quite a few clubs coming and, you know, outside groups. So it'll be fun for everyone.
Free?
No, it's not free. How about that?
Mm.
Yeah, it's not free. We have men's volleyball hosting championships too. So, you know, people will be able to watch them Thursday and Saturday as well. So it'll be a good crowd with having those guys here too. So
It'll be awesome.
Be very awesome.
So you
That's
had
out.
West Virginia earlier. What other competitions did you have in the spring? I mean, are you using all your 4 dates or?
nope. We just played West Virginia a couple weekends ago, and then this will be it. So besides practicing, so we didn't travel and play anyone else.
Are you going somewhere this summer?
No. We'll travel. We'll probably do our broad trip next May. But nope, the team will be here this summer. A lot of them are taking classes. So I'm looking forward to all of them getting here.
I think you guys look pretty stacked for next year. I
Yeah.
think your team is looking like it's going to be pretty good. Can you tell us about like, what are you thinking about them for this year? You know, without giving any of your secrets away, Kate. But
No.
what do you?
Well, you're going from 10 to 19 if I did my math right.
Yeah, we're gonna have quite a few new players. So no, I'm excited about all of them. I mean, the mix of transfers and incoming freshmen, I think will be a great mix. And you know, we're looking forward to getting them all together. It's nice that we can, you know, that Penn State provides us taking summer school and that they can be here working out with a strength coach and all of those things so that the team can work together, you know, on their own. So I think it will be an interesting Big Ten season, as always, competitive. And I know that we'll be ready to go. And, you know, I'm looking forward to winning some matches.
Katie, this wasn't on your questions, but is this Russ's old office that you're in? Is this now the Katie office?
It is,
So,
yeah.
Did you put some touches in there? Is that, do we have a little you in there?
Oh yeah, I hung up a few things. You can see over there, there's a little Macaulay sign right there.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Got some pictures and
Mighty Max.
Mighty Mac, yeah. And yeah. The only thing is I miss it doesn't smell like a cigar anymore.
Yeah.
So we gotta
Thank God.
You've got a sunburn, so you must be sitting out
I
on the
do.
back.
No, you know what? I was in Chicago this weekend and was able to be outside on Sunday and got a little sun. So
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we wish you the best.
Well, Kelly is signing on here right now. So Katie, we want to
thank you guys.
and I'm sure you want to say hello to your colleague at the bottom of the
Kelly?
screen here.
How's it going?
Hi, Katie.
Go Mother Macaulay.
That's right. That's right, Phil. Thanks for having me, you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, great to have you on, Katie.
Cool.
Thank you.
Take care. We are.
Absolutely. See ya. All right. Well, hey, Kelly, how you doing?
Doing great. I just loved hearing Bill say, go Mother Macaulay. That was
Yes, we're the Mighty Max.
the backyard of you guys, huh?
Yeah. Well, three of us. Yeah. All there.
Well,
Birthplace
why don't
of
you introduce our new guest here? Not very new, but happy and peppy it looks like he is today.
Yeah, a lot of caffeine.
Well, first of all, we just want to thank you for being on the show today. And we want to tell you a little bit about the coach at University of Wisconsin. So we're going to say that you started your college evolution at Houston with master coaches Bill Walton. hired the same AD who hired Walton at Houston, then to Dayton, then to Wisconsin. Is this right? You are Clemson as well, yes? Why don't you give us a little background on you?
Yeah, I'd rather just spend the next however many minutes we have together just talking about Bill stories, if we can do that.
Yeah, there's plenty of those. There's plenty of those. Yeah. Well,
There are no Bill stories, as you know.
not that anyone will. Yeah.
You know, I got started with Bill in '97. I'd been coaching at Munciana and some high schools and things prior to that for about 7 or 8 years prior to that. And then Bill gave me my start in college. Without Bill,
Wow.
there's no way that I'd be doing what I'm doing right now. He gave me a chance. It was the last year of limited earnings coaches. So I drove down there. He offered me the job. I was down there 24 hours later in time for the second practice of the first day. He paid me a grand total of $12 grand, and
Yes. Yeah.
learned so much with him, and Nancy Mueller was his assistant at the time as well, and the three of us were just grinding away.
That's funny. So and you were with him. That's where it starts, and then you went off to Clemson. Was that right, or Virginia? Then Virginia.
Yeah, I went to Virginia for 2 years, and then went to Clemson for a year, and then got my head coaching starts at the University of Albany. About 3 weeks into it, or about a month into it, 9/11 hit. So
Oh, wow.
we were about 2 hours down the road from there. At Albany for 7 years, went to Dayton for 5, and then going on year 11 here at Wisconsin.
Wow. Well, that's quite a story. And I know a lot of people that you've probably been around in those days, and sorry about the Bill thing, but it sounds like it was positive. Well, anyway, there's tons of awards that you have, including 3 of the last 5, second leading school in attendance in the NCAA for volleyball. And you guys have really been killing it. It's been exciting to watch that grow and to know that that's really helping volleyball throughout the nation. So excited for that. Thanks for your work. And then also an NCAA championship, the Big Ten championship, the coach of the year, both in the Big Ten and the national coach of the year. And what does this say here, Bill? It says, wow, all from a friend getting you to be a assistant coach at Muncie Burris. Bill wrote this script. That's why he keeps plugging himself. He keeps plugging himself. Anyway, so without further ado, we're going to get into the questions for you about your program and telling us how things are going. So take it away, Billy.
Well, really, I'm pumping Muncie Burris. I mean, Muncie. I mean, if you think about it, Mother McCauley and John Trajanic from Chicago started really
my coach,
club volleyball in Chicago, and Muncie Burris really the birthplace, not the birthplace, but the bed where junior volleyball started and has kind of blossomed, and is the number of coaches that both places have put out at all divisions, high schools and clubs across the country. I mean, everybody talks about how great California is. Those 2 areas, the south side of Chicago and Muncie, Indiana, I mean, 2 pretty small places, and produced an awful lot of good coaches and an awful lot of good players. So,
Bill, I'd throw Louisville Assumption in there as well. I mean,
I would too, yeah.
And this was before a lot of people traveled all over the country, which seems to be the thing right now. High schools, right? High schools now traveling, but I remember Mother McCauley used to have this great tournament. I don't know if they still do, or you know, the top teams in the Midwest would go, and then Louisville also would have something. Assumption with Ron Cordes would put something together there. But it was a man, the level of play back then and that little corridor was unbelievable.
I agree, and that's kind of where you kind of cut your teeth. People don't realize how many hours you spend in the gym doing club volleyball and high school volleyball in those areas. I mean, you pretty much live in the gym from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock every day, 7 days a week. I mean, this isn't just, I'm just a coach suddenly at Wisconsin. This is, you know, they say 10,000 hours. People from our area put way more than 10,000 hours in before we ever get our first coaching job. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, let's get down to brass tacks. Spring training. It's always a tricky time to train your team.
Yeah.
Lots of limits placed on times, numbers, competition dates, and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. Add to your 2023 training, you had a match with a pro team, Athletes Unlimited. Can you tell us what your normal spring training looks like or looked like, and how it might have changed this year because you were playing AU?
Yeah, I mean, I think the training is it kind of depends a little bit on what you got coming back, right? Is your team young? Is it more of an experienced team? We've got you know, out of the people that were in our rotation, Danielle Hart was the only one that left. So we've got a lot of people that have been with us for a year or two. So that's probably a little bit different of a than maybe what it is if you've got a lot of turnover, which we had the year before that, when Hilly and Redke and Loberg and Barnes and Chavita, all those guys left. We really had a lot of newer people in. So that was a different spring than this past one. The Athletes Unlimited, man, it's really cool. You know, they're almost like a you know, I picture the movie Bull Durham, where they're all in the bus. They're just going from town to town, and you know, that's kind of this group right here. And you know, I don't know if Nuke LaLoosh is with them or not, but
Hit the ball.
But they are. It's really, my goodness, it's such an exciting time right now for our sport for so many different reasons. But you know, the opportunity for players that have played in college to continue playing and have an audience for it here in our country is really cool. You know, they came in here and played, and you know, I think the fans were appreciative. I think our players really enjoyed it. We had a great film session afterwards to show, you know, some of the high IQ stuff that was going on the other side of the net that we've got to get better at. You know, Morgan Hintz is over there. You know, I think she had 21 digs in 4 sets against us, so, you know, which surprises nobody. You know, you see a Deja McClendon who's in her 30s, I think, that is playing. It's hard to believe she's in her 30s, but I think she is. And just calm and that she plays with, and the joy. There's just so much playfulness out there on the court that I think the fans and our players really kind of enjoyed. You know, Sydney Hilly being able to come back home and you know, was really special. But there was you know, you see a Willow Johnson of. Yeah, I don't know if we've had certainly in my time in the Big Ten, I don't know if we've seen a lefty in our league that has as much power as what that kid packs. So it was cool for us to go against, and I think it was really neat for some of the fans to see some of these players that maybe they have followed for the past 10 years or so at other schools come in here and play.
Well, Kelly, and I saw on something, maybe Instagram, I don't know what it was, Sid being introduced. I mean, the crowd went wild. Tell me about, you know, that and how it just, you know, felt for her and everybody else.
Man, it's, I mean, she's, you know, she had an unbelievable career. I mean, a career that I think most anybody would love to have, and not just the career, but how she connected with the fans here. She's what a student athlete should be. I mean, you know, it's a great leader, unbelievable student, just a caring person that just gave everything that she could for this program. And you know, and the last time she played here was in the regional finals against Minnesota, and you know, a week later she's helping us win our first national championship. And so to come back in here and to wear a jersey in front of this crowd, you know, we had a bunch of former players that were there, and we were playing, and at one point, Athletes Unlimited did something. Oh, I think it was Hilly. She turned it on 2 and dumped and got a kill. And I hear this tremendous roar behind our bench. Around, it's all of our former players. And I gave them a glare, and I think one of them just said, "Hey, we're just cheering for Hilly," you know. But I think it was a special night for everybody.
That must have been like just, I mean, really cool for her. I mean, just the emotion and just the appreciation of everything is awesome. So did you feel like your team, like as you went through film session, was this what are the things they picked up? I mean, I know you saw some things, but was that a really valuable thing for them to do? And would you do it again?
I definitely play them again. I think there's an element that it helps our team. It helps grow what they're doing, which I think we have a responsibility besides just growing our own team and helping our team, but of growing the sport. And it's against elite players. So we would totally do that. The film session, you know, it was an opportunity for us to point to quite a few things that we just have to get better at. And that was one of the great things about playing a collection of talent that had been playing. It wasn't their first match. So they've been playing a lot.
They're getting better every time. Yeah.
They are. It was our second spring match. They'd played quite a few. So it's probably a little bit different than had we played them their first match right out of the gate. So we got a pretty good team that was on the other side of the nets, and for us to go in a spring match and really dive into the film after we played them, there's an incredible amount of value behind that.
Awesome.
Kelly, you
Well,
mentioned
and-
how different times, different years, you have a different kind of approach to your spring season.
Yeah.
We just talked to Katie a few minutes ago, and she surprised me when she said she only played 2 matches this spring season.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's looked at the team that she has right now and the way she's going to train a little differently than maybe other years. How about for you?
Yeah, it's I think she's probably still waiting for some players to come in, right? It's
Right.
Whether it's freshmen or the transfers. We've got everybody here except one transfer that is not here yet, but the core of our team is here. We're allowed to play 4 matches, as you know. We'll play 3. And then we'll take a little bit of break, and then we'll come back. We're taking the team over to Europe for a couple of weeks. So we'll get 10 days of practices before our Europe trip. So we basically almost get another month, the end of May, beginning of June to work with this group. And I want to make sure that we're giving them some time off. So we'll play 3. I think the spring to me has always been, the fall is about the team. The spring is about the individual, I think. And so, you know, what we do is going into every spring season, we'll meet and we'll have our staff there. We'll have our strength coaches. We'll have our academic people. We'll have our mindfulness coach. Sometime our doctors will be their academic people. And we'll put an individual game plan together for every player. So this is the thing that this player has got to do. And some of it may be leadership. Some of it may be skill. Some of it may be just academics or health. But we'll have an individual game plan for every player. And then we'll have it a little bit for the team as well. But most of it is individualized. And then we'll just start attacking that. So there's a game plan, I guess, if you would, for every player in the spring, and then the fall becomes more obviously about the team.
Systems and yeah. Well,
So you involve your entire staff in the process for forming that player game plan for the spring.
Yeah, I would say going into that meeting, it's a lot of informal conversations, me with some people, and then we'll meet, then everybody will come together. And then that becomes, we may add some things, erase some things, make sure that we're all on the same page. So it becomes a lot more collaborative at that point. But going in, it's probably my conversations one-on-one with a bunch of people. And then the blueprint starts with me, and then it just kind of crystallizes with everybody.
Very cool.
Yeah. I'm not sure who's on this one, but I just, we were talking about, even with Katie, like, are you planning a foreign tour, or you are this summer?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you have cooking?
Yeah, so we'll go, I think, for 12 days. We'll start out in Istanbul, Turkey. We'll go and train at some of those some of the clubs there. We'll be there for about 5 days, I think. Then we'll go up to Maribor, Slovenia. That's a place where some national teams will go and train. So we'll be there for a few days. We'll take a little stop to Venice to go see that place. Then we'll go to Milan, and Milan is as you know, is a place where the Italian national team does a lot of training. So we'll probably hook up with them, and then we'll finish, we'll go through Lake Como, finish in Zurich, Switzerland before we head back here.
Lake Como is gorgeous. Yes. Yeah. We did kind of almost a similar one. It's really cool to get involved over there and train.
So this is a much different spring training for you this time, Kelly, than maybe last year or the year before.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you know, we've got a lot of people that kind of, they know the lay of the land a little bit better, I would say, than maybe a year ago when we had such turnover. We had a lot of people coming back after our 21 season, but not a lot of them that had played. And so this you know, so you're building leadership. You know, you'd lose our captains that we lost, and so you're trying to build up the next leaders. You're trying to you know, it was almost all new passing. You know, so getting them to work together. We went from a 5-1 where we had Sydney Hilly setting for us for 5 years to a 6-2. Whereas Izzy Ashburn's and MJ Hamill's first year at it. So you're working on the connections that you need with two setters. So a lot of difference a year ago. Where right now we feel pretty good that we're probably going to stick with the 6-2. You know, you've got Sarah Franklin coming back, Yulia Orzel, both of them played for us last year on the outside, and Caroline Crawford last year was her first year. She'll go into year 2 with us. Anna Smrek, Devin Robinson, both of them have been around for a while, both of them on the right sides. We had a freshman libero in Golce Guchtekin. That got here in the middle of preseason last year from Turkey. So she has a little bit obviously a little bit better understanding right now than what she did when she first got in here. So you can build on things a little bit more than maybe where we were at 12 months ago.
Any really good surprises from anybody that showed up this spring for you?
You know, you probably taught me this as much as anybody, but you know, improvement is not a straight line, as we know. It looks, hopefully, if you're lucky, it's more the stock market, you know, where it ends up higher than over time than it is
Not
lower.
lately.
So there's some, you know, depending, you know, any answer I'd give you today would probably be a different answer than what I'd give you last week or maybe next week. But you know, we've got a group that's working hard. We've got you know, we've got quite a few kids that are going through some, you know, cleanups, I guess you would call it, you know, with the medical staff. And so, you know, we've got quite a few that are not in the gym with us every day, but I'm getting great reports from them. You know, maybe the one that I'm really is probably a kid that most people, you know, doesn't play a whole lot for us, is Sydney Reed. You know, when you have your players that maybe don't play quite as much as just going all out, you know, I think that's, you know, she's a kid that's probably inspiring a lot of people. You know, I like the work that our setters are doing right now. Those two are as hard of workers as I've ever coached. But we've got a really good group right now.
Awesome.
So Kelly, let's take a quick trip to the fall here. You know, and just, you know, total number of contests that you're allowed, the dates, you know, the teams that you're going to be playing, the additional teams coming in. You know, what does it look like, you know, from your perspective right now? What do you think is going to happen with the Big Ten?
You know, there's some exciting times ahead with Southern Cal and UCLA coming in here in a year. That's you know, which is cool. You know, that's a you know, those are 2-story programs, and certainly programs that you know, have names that we all have known for, you know, 30, 40 years. You know, it's just the histories, the rich tradition of those guys that come into this league is really cool. So we're actually starting to have some conversations about what scheduling is going to look like a year from now once they join. You know, whether we have a conference tournament or not. You know, there's we're having some great dialogue right now with in there. You know, but our schedule, it's a you know, I think it's a good competitive schedule. We're only home for one weekend, which you know, our people around here aren't too happy about. So I've got to do a better job of having multiple weekends here in Madison. You know, we failed on that front going into this year. We'll learn, do a better job in the future.
No outdoor match.
out
The football
there.
stadium.
You know, it's a Bill, I'll tell you what, our match in the Kohl Center was as special of an environment as
Oh,
I've
that
ever
was
been in. It just how, you know, usually the Final Fours, you know, those things, you know, we've all been there. It can be a little bit, there's so many people in the Final Four matches, but half the crowd, I'm not sure they really care who wins, you know, just so many people are just there to watch.
not attached to
good volleyball.
you. Yeah.
It's not blowing the lid off the buildings at Final Fours. The Kohl Center match was
Electric.
so loud. It was so incredible. It was awesome. And we need to do more of that as a sport. What I'd like to see is in September, you know, all these programs that get great fans of getting their department to back a match in their basketball arena or something, try to sell that sucker out. Let's get TV involved. And now all of a sudden, the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, every time that you turn on a volleyball match on TV, you're seeing it in front of massive crowds. I think that would really have a huge impact on, you know, maybe how corporate America or whoever is seeing our sport. I think that's something we ought to be trying to find a way to do. Nebraska, as I think you're alluding to, is going to play in their football stadium, which is awesome. It's I mean, it's incredible. I hope they blow our number way out of the water. I'd love to see 60,000 people at that thing. You know, how they're going to do it, I have no idea. But you know, I'm sure all the beach players are sitting there rolling their eyes when we're sitting there. But you know, what are you going to do with a little bit of wind? You know, they're, you know, that it's I hope they can pull it off.
Kelly, you were an advocate last year, and that I don't know if you formed a group or what it was, about trying to increase the quality of the TV coverage or the number. Or can you tell me, are you still active trying to do that? Are you kind of are you the point of the spear on this, or what?
I don't know if I would say that. I don't know if there's, I'm just, you know, I'm probably complaining a lot, and I don't know if anybody's listening. But, you know, I think for so long, I think our sport had just, you know, we've tried the nice approach, right? And we've gotten a little bit of crumbs here and there, and we've taken it, and we've been excited about what we've gotten. And, you know, I think it's time for us to, you know, maybe collectively of saying, no, this isn't good enough. You know, we've got a product that is being played at a really, really high level. We're seeing how much pushing women's basketball is doing, and rightfully so. And they just put together a tournament that was just amazing and inspiring and awesome. And the entire machine was behind it. And I think all of us that know and love volleyball are sitting there just saying, if you would put the machine behind our sport, we would do exactly what is happening with women's basketball, if not more. And they're not going to do it on their own. It's going to have to be, you know, us, you know, whether it's having strong conversations, whether it's being vocal, whether it's, you know, fighting, scratching, kicking, crying, whatever it is, you know, it's, we all need to be, you know, the three of you guys, just how much that, you know, the three of you and Mick and just so many people that have gotten this sport to this point where we're at. And those of us that have learned from you guys, it's time for us to grab that baton and to be screaming every bit as loud as what you guys were doing to get whatever it was, 12 scholarships, to get locker rooms, to get all those fights that you guys were doing. It's a different fight, but we better be as passionate about it as what you guys were to get us to this stage.
Well, it's getting on the right track. I mean, you do see things like when you did play the match at the Kohl Center, and, you know, Nebraska played in Omaha, and the attendance from the beginning of the year, people started seeing volleyball, recognized it was all on TV. You guys did a great job of marketing that, and then following through with the match itself and what all went into it. It was great because it kicked off the season. I don't know, for years, people didn't even know the volleyball season started until the conference season started, right?
Yeah.
And so to start it off with that kind of enthusiasm for the sport, it really did, it did make an impact. So thanks for doing that. And it's good to see that. But I do agree with you. I'd love to see that first 4 weeks or so of pre-conference play really light it up with some great matchups.
Yeah, it's I think we've got an opportunity to do that. The other opportunity, you think about basketball gets started with all these, you know, they have these things and tournaments in, you know, Hawaii or, you know, different exotic places, Virgin Islands and things.
Great matchups. Yeah.
Great matchups and made for TV type of deals. And I think we need to probably be doing a little bit of more of that of you know, trying to push to get to, especially that first weekend. Football hasn't started yet, right? And so they usually start in week 2. But yet we're not having a whole lot of week 1 matches. And so we've got to get our best teams playing against each other. We've got to get TV to jump on that in that first week. And there, you know, the exciting thing is there's still so much more growth that that we're capable of.
Well, I don't know if you said this, but the whole idea, if the Big Ten keeps growing and you start to have divisions or something, and I know you guys have been in talks about things like that, but the tournament, what would you think about the end of the year conference tournament? Is that something you'd be for, or you know, I know that there's different opinions on it all.
Yeah, Kathy, I'm intrigued by it because I think sounds really cool and would be really cool. There's a lot of things I'm concerned about. I am concerned about the timing of it. You know, I think there's, you know, if you end on Friday, that means you're starting on Monday. And, you know, you look at the basketball schedule and they're playing for their Big Ten tournament. They're playing at 11 o'clock and 1:30. And then they're going 5:30 selection. Who's going to show up at 11 and 1:30 on Thanksgiving week? You know, are we going to get all of our games on TV like basketball is? You know, if they can say here, we'll pack the place and we can get on TV, then that's one thing. But you know, if to play 3 matches in a row against really, really good teams going into the NCAA tournament. You know, fortunately we've been a team that has been able to play a few matches in the tournament, and I'm not sure I'm wanting to wear ourselves down going right into it. So if we can figure out some big things, one of the things, we had a great discussion a few weeks ago with all the coaches in the league, and there are the viewpoints that so many people have and the passion. And, you know, you know, there are just so many coaches that I just love listening to that. I would say if I was to vote right now, I'd probably lean towards no. But I'm having I'm really, really enjoying the dialogue and the conversation and seeing if we can make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, men's basketball, ACC, SEC, Big East, Big Ten, American Athletic all play conference tournaments.
Yeah,
of course, but they're used
moneymaker.
As a moneymaker, and they're all on TV the entire week, all the conferences right on top of each other, and then that kind of gets everybody fired up for the NCAA tournament because they keep showing who has qualified from some of the other conferences that are on ESPN Plus. So it's a big week, and I think what you're alluding to is, if we got that kind of coverage, it would be worth playing a conference tournament. But just to play a conference tournament to get tired isn't worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, when I was with you, we did it there with Conference USA. You know, we had a conference tournament when the America East. We had it when at the Atlantic 10. I mean, those can be really, really fun things. You know, especially if there's a banquet. You know, the teams are interacting and it was kind of a different deal with some of those leagues because some of those leagues you had to win it to go to the tournament. So there's a little bit different pressure there, but it's I think you're right. You can't do it in a neutral site where nobody is at. I mean, I don't think that grows the game. The other thing is that's a little concerning is we go into the opening week of the NCAA tournament and you cannot turn the dial on your TV and find a volleyball match.
I know.
We go completely dark
Yeah.
for the general public, unless you know where to search for it, which is online, you're going dark. So, if we can build some excitement going into the tournament, into the NCAA tournament with conference tournaments that are on TV, there might be some benefit there, right?
Mhm.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there because we're kind of running tight on time. And Kelly, I know that you got a lot to do, especially getting ready for this tour.
Yeah.
I just like to thank you for taking the time and coming on the show. We always love to have you on, and you always have some insightful things to discuss with us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate all three of you.
Go
Absolutely.
Wisconsin.
There you go. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Kelly. All right, we'll transition into our buzz reaction. I think the first thing I'd like to talk about is, the main part of the show was basically spring training, and listening to both these coaches, they look at each year differently from one year to the other in terms of how they're going to have to develop their spring training. And it has a lot to do with where their team is at the start of the spring, and what they need, whether it's teamwork or whether it's individual training. What did you guys hear that was interesting to you?
Well, I agree with that. I mean, you have to look at where your team is. You're either old or young, and you're always changing it. But I like the individual plans that he has, the game plan, to really work on the individual. I think I missed during COVID so badly the spring, because that's where the teaching gets done. That's where the individual improvements are seen. And it sounds like both of them are really focused on that. The fall comes in, and really you're putting in systems and you're getting your team ready for competition. So it sounds like both of them are dialing into what they can do for their team now in order to prepare them for the fall. So that sounds great by that. What do you think there, Bill?
Well, especially now with a fairly good portion of high school seniors graduating December, not all of them obviously, but a fair number. And your transfer portal kids, you try to get them in the springtime. The springtime's a time for you to make sure that the way your process was going to work in the fall gets covered uniquely and individually in the springtime. And you have to sacrifice maybe a little bit of the team's ability to, communicate and transition, because that's something you're going to work on more in the fall. Right now, it is all the players coming together and understanding what the process is going to look like. And I think when Kelly said the good thing about AU was, and Kelly hasn't, Penn State hasn't done it yet, but he thought that the video session afterwards got them to evaluate some things that they normally don't get to do in the springtime because they don't do a lot of video work. But it was valuable in terms of seeing players who've been playing longer making smart decisions that you can't get your college team to understand yet because they don't have the experience. So the chance to play against it and then see it and because they're so into the process of how we're going to do things in the fall, it really makes sure that you got a nice smooth runway when things take off that first week in August when you start practice, because you don't have long in August if they don't know how things are going to work, and you have to teach how the process works in the fall. It takes too long by the time you get to the team stuff, and then you're behind by the time you start playing.
Yeah, and I think it's a little hard for, say, Katie, who doesn't have quite as many people in the gym. Kelly's got a pretty turning cast, and then Katie's got, she's kind of piecemealing things, going to have to borrow players and that type of thing to make it work. So, she'll have to look to do some of that as it comes into the fall, which is the harder part.
Yeah.
So, Kathy, you think that's a reason why Katie might be only playing 2 matches in the spring? I was really surprised at that.
Absolutely. No, I totally do. And I understand. I think every coach has to make those decisions, because you go into those play dates and you don't have healthy bodies. It depends. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes, because that is the time to try to get everybody repaired. And I think Kelly used that word too. You're working on all these little things to get them healthy, because that's a rest time a little bit. You don't need to grind them in to some of those matches. And so she's probably she's borrowing a couple players, probably doesn't have enough to play throughout. So
So was that
we've done
because
it.
she had a lot of graduation, or did she lose
She
players?
did.
to,
She did have graduation.
support?
Some of those transfers aren't in right now. She has a couple, like one of them's playing, training with the national team, doing different things in the spring, and those transfers will come in May, but they're not there yet. So she's down on her numbers to fill the people that graduated and are gone now. So, you know, like Kelly said, he has most of his roster except for, you know, one or two that are there, so they can train the whole time as a team, and they can work on their individual things. But, you know, the passing patterns, all of that, that takes a little bit to work on. And I think that, you know, Katie's going to have a little bit more of that to do early in her preseason.
Yeah, I agree. When you go from 10 to 19.
Yeah, it's a lot of people to bring in.
Yeah, I mean,
so
just
that makes a huge difference in the way you know, with this portal and the
yeah,
transfer.
absolutely.
I mean, I used to always look to try to get as many of the, 4 competitions. I wanted not only 4 competitions, I wanted them to play all day on those competitions. But that's when
But
you
you
have
know,
a full team all the
I
time.
will tell you something though, the fall seasons are getting, like, they're tough, you know. I know the matches, you're playing a lot, and it's the matches are more and more competitive. So you're going through two matches in a weekend or something, and you're watching your players have to go through really tough competitions. It's not like it's not as easy to do those all day things like we used to do in the old days, but it is hard, and you've got to make sure that your players are healthy as you go through this. And I think Katie, you know, is having to think about how to do that, but you're still teaching, and you're still, you know, I'm sure they're using film and trying to grow the individual game for everybody. And it's fun to improve on the things. You don't have that focus, but improve on, like, if you have to work on your shot making, or you're working on your passing, or whatever it is you're working on, you get to see your individual improvement, which helps the team in turn.
Yeah, I think it's just interesting how it's changed so dramatically now with the number of people transferring, and you know, people either they're leaving your team, or they're coming in, and teams are not complete, so to speak, in that spring season like it used to be.
Well, you know, that 5th year, the person that's transferring in the COVID year, they have that COVID year and they're done with their undergrad. Usually they have to take this spring semester to graduate from the school they're in. And then they don't all come in January. So there's a different feel there, and not everybody has scholarship money available at that time. So, you know, they're not coming until later on.
Well, in Kelly's situation, he's essentially got what pretty much is going to be pretty close to his starting lineup there.
Yeah.
And where Katie's missing probably at least 50% of her potential starting lineup for the fall. So for her to work too much on playing other teams wouldn't be of value to her group right now at this time. It would be more important for her to do individual things and not put them out there into a situation that's really not beneficial for the long-term goals.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought it was also interesting in both cases. And last week, when we talked to the coaches last week, or you know, Craig last week, they all seem to think this match against a pro team is really beneficial for them. Whether they're mixing their team, or whether they're playing just a straight up competition, they all seem to be pretty positive about that. And nobody feels like it's a negative in terms of drawn away from their fan base at all. Do you guys have any feelings about that?
Well, and I hate to say the old days, but when I first started coaching in Division I, we had no limits in the spring. And we always, if I had a large number of girls coming back for the next year, we always played in the USAV Open Championships. Nebraska was there, Texas was there, UCLA was there. All the top programs played USAV. And that helped. You got to play against a lot of older girls playing open competition. Well, AU they don't do that anymore. So AU gives them the chance for the younger girls to see what it's like, what a 30-year-old looks like playing volleyball. I mean, you know, they 1 minute they get the tip, the next minute they're not up getting the tip, they're back digging. And they're like, well, how did she know to be in position to get the tip? And how did she have to get the tip this time? What's she seeing? And when my older players, and we play USAV, my players are always like, did you see that girl? She just didn't even hit the ball hard and she killed us. And so the experience that comes with time needs to be given to the younger players. They don't get it anymore like they used to get it. Right. my college teams got to play USA Open and got to play against that, and they got to see the men play. They were way more immersed in seeing older players compete, and so
Right.
So different. It's so different.
yeah, the club scene now doesn't allow for it, and the college doesn't allow for it. So the idea that they've now got a chance to play a pro team of older, more experienced players who seem to do things more fluidly and intuitively than the college player who seems to have to memorize certain situations is critically important, I think, for the development of some of these young players.
I'd agree with that 100%.
Agreed.
Well, I
As-
think
as-
for next week, we're going to take a whole different twist. All right, we're going to men's volleyball. All right, we're going to have Penn State. We'll have Mark Pavlik coming on, talking a little bit about the best team in the East right now. And we'll have John Speraw coming on, talking a little bit about UCLA and the West Coast and the teams out there as we're getting ready to go into the men's national championship here in a couple of weeks. So, hopefully everybody will tune in for that. And we'll have a couple of new viewers because I'm sure we'll have some men's coaches coming on to listen to what these coaches have to say.
Really excited to hear about that. So it'll be fun.
Oh, outstanding. Outstanding.
Well, next time then, guys.
All right.
Until next time, Bobby. And Mick, if you're listening, buongiorno, buongiorno.